The Great Assembly Hall of the Galactic Union was built to make everyone feel small. Its ceiling rose so high that clouds of soft light floated near the top, slowly changing color, as if the building itself was breathing. The floor was a smooth black surface that reflected the shapes of those who stood upon it. Tall insectoid beings with jointed limbs, floating gas creatures in transparent suits, armored giants of stone and metal, and many others whose forms were difficult to describe in simple words. Among them stood one human. Elias Renner was not tall by galactic standards. He wore a simple dark uniform with no shining plates, no natural weapons, no dramatic colors. His hands were empty. His face was calm, though his heart beat faster than he wanted to admit. Humans were still new to this place. Earth had only joined the Galactic Union a few years ago, and most species still saw humans as weak, reckless, or strange. Elias had been trained to stand still, to listen, and most importantly, to follow rules. One rule mattered more than all the others. Do not look there. The rule was spoken before the session began. It was repeated in every known language. It was displayed in symbols and colors along the walls. Even the air carried a low warning hum when the rule was mentioned. At the far end of the hall stood a massive structure, half hidden by a curved barrier of dark energy. It was not fully invisible. Anyone could tell something was there. A raised platform, heavy restraints, thick cables running into the floor, but no one looked directly at it. Alien delegates positioned their bodies so their eyes, sensors, or awareness organs faced away. Some closed extra eyelids. Others activated vision filters. A few even turned their entire forms slightly sideways. Elias noticed this immediately. At first, he told himself not to think about it. Humans had been warned. The Union had made it very clear. Looking toward the sealed observation platform was a serious violation of galactic law. No explanation had been given, only consequences, severe ones. The trial was about to begin. A high-ranking council member, a tall avian creature with silver feathers and 4 sharp eyes, floated to the center of the hall. "The session is now in order," the council member announced. "Let all present remember the sacred boundaries of this chamber." The warning hum deepened. Elias kept his eyes forward. He focused on the speaker, on the translation display hovering near his shoulder, on his own breathing. Still, something felt wrong. He could feel it like pressure at the back of his mind. The platform was there. He knew it was there. Everyone knew. Yet everyone acted as if pretending was safer than understanding. As the trial continued, the council discussed matters of trade, territory, and punishment. A species from the outer rim stood accused of violating a non-expansion treaty. The words were formal, cold, distant. Elias listened, but his attention kept slipping. Each time the platform was mentioned, even indirectly, the room reacted. Fear passed through the hall like a wave. Some delegates stiffened. Others clicked their mandibles in agitation. A few let out low, angry sounds that vibrated through the floor. The avian council members' feathers flared every time the topic came close. Elias noticed something else too. No one sounded proud. Whatever was being hidden, it was not a victory. His training officer's voice echoed in his memory. "You are there to observe, Elias. Humans don't make waves yet. We learn first." He tried to follow that advice. Then the council member said, "As all species understand, the presence must remain unseen, unquestioned, and unacknowledged." Unacknowledged. The word hit Elias harder than he expected. Humans had a long history with rules like that. On Earth, those rules had often protected lies, cruelty, and fear. Elias had read the history files. He had seen what happened when people were told not to look. Without meaning to, his eyes shifted slightly. He did not turn his head. He did not stare. But he looked enough to notice movement, a subtle one. Something shifted behind the dark energy barrier. The light around it bent, not violently but carefully, as if whatever was there was trying not to be noticed. Elia's chest tightened. He swallowed and forced his gaze back to the center. The warning hum grew louder, then softened again. No one seemed to notice his small movement, but Elias could not forget what he had felt. Minutes passed, then more. The trial dragged on, yet the hidden platform remained the center of the room's gravity. Everything curved around it. Every rule, every fear, every silence. Finally, Elias raised his hand. The sound sensors picked it up immediately. A soft chime echoed. Every head, eye, and awareness organ turned toward him. The hall went silent. The Avian Council member fixed all four eyes on Elias. "The human delegate has requested speech," it said slowly. "State your intent." Elias stood straighter. His mouth felt dry, but his voice came out steady. "I have a question," he said. A low murmur rippled through the room. "Proceed," the council member replied, though its feathers trembled. Elias gestured lightly toward the far end of the hall, careful not to point directly. "Why?" he asked. "Why is no one allowed to look?" The reaction was immediate. A tall reptilian delegate slammed its tail against the floor. An insectoid ambassador let out a sharp clicking cry. Several energy beings flared brightly, then dimmed in what Elias guessed was anger. The warning hum rose into a sharp tone. The council member's voice hardened. "That question is inappropriate." "I don't mean disrespect," Elias said quickly. "Humans just believe that understanding is important. If something matters enough to be hidden from every species, shouldn't we know why?" "You were told the rule," snapped the reptilian. "That is enough." Elias felt heat rise in his face, but he did not back down. "With respect on my world, rules without reasons often cause more harm than safety." That was when the guards moved. Tall, mechanical enforcers stepped closer to Elias, their jointed limbs hissing softly. Weapons did not raise, but their presence was clear. The council member raised one wing. "Stand down," it ordered the guards, then turned back to Elias. "Human, you test ancient law." "I know," Elias replied. "But I also know fear when I see it. Whatever is there scares you. Not because it is powerful, but because of what it represents." A shocked silence followed. The council member's eyes narrowed. "You know nothing." "Then tell me," Elias said, "or at least tell us why we must pretend it doesn't exist." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the warning hum cut out entirely. That alone caused panic. Elias felt dozens of gazes shift nervously. Some delegates began to back away from the platform without looking at it. Others argued in rapid, sharp sounds. The council member's voice dropped. "The presence is a reminder of a past we chose to bury. Burying doesn't erase it," Elias said quietly. "A mistake." The council member's feathers flared wide. "Enough, you will not speak again." Elias nodded slowly. "Understood." But inside, something had already changed. He could feel it. The platform was not just forbidden. It was avoided with guilt. As the session moved forward, Elias no longer tried to ignore it. He did not look directly, but he let himself be aware. He listened to the way the room tightened whenever the platform systems emitted a faint sound. He watched how no one stood between it and the exits. It was being guarded, not from escaping, from being seen. The trial ended soon after. The accused species was punished. Sanctions were declared, formal words were exchanged, yet Elias barely heard them. When the final chime sounded and delegates began to leave, Elias remained still. The hall emptied slowly. Guards maintained positions. The platform remained shrouded. The Avian Council member approached Elias one last time. "You were warned," it said. "Humans were granted entry because of their adaptability. Do not mistake that for permission to challenge everything." Elias met its gaze. "Humans adapt by asking questions." The council member stared at him for a long moment, then turned away. As Elias walked toward the exit, his steps slowed. No one was watching him anymore. The hall was almost empty. The platform was still there. The pressure in his mind grew unbearable. Elias stopped. He took a breath. And then, against every law in the Galactic Union, the human turned his head and looked. Not fully, not yet, but enough to know that what everyone feared was not a thing. It was someone. And that knowledge would soon change everything. Elias should have looked away. Every warning, every instinct trained into him since childhood screamed at him to turn his head back, to pretend like the rest of the galaxy did. His heart pounded so loudly that he was sure the guards would hear it. The assembly hall was nearly empty now, but the silence felt heavier than when it had been full. He looked, not quickly, not in panic. He looked carefully. The dark energy barrier did not hide everything. From this angle, with no one shouting rules or warnings, Elias could finally see what was behind it. The platform was larger than he expected, made of old metal scarred by time. Thick restraints crossed it like a cage, locking something in place. Someone. The being was tall, taller than a human but thin. Its body showed signs of age and exhaustion. Its skin was a dull, muted color, cracked in places like stone left too long under harsh suns. Strange symbols were etched into its restraints, glowing faintly, not bright, not dramatic, but steady and cold. The being's head was lowered. Elias felt a sharp pain in his chest. This was not a monster. This was not a weapon. This was a prisoner. As if sensing his gaze, the being slowly lifted its head. Its eyes opened. They were not filled with rage. They were tired. Elias froze. For a long second, neither of them moved. The hall seemed to hold its breath. Then the being spoke, not aloud. The voice formed inside Elias' mind, gentle but deep, like distant thunder across calm water. "You see," Elias swallowed hard. "Yes." No alarm sounded. No guards rushed forward. It was as if the universe itself was waiting to see what he would do next. "They told you not to," the voice said. "They did," Elias replied silently. He did not know how he knew to answer this way, but it felt natural. "They never told us why." A faint expression crossed the being's face, something close to sadness. "They never do." Elias took a small step closer to the barrier. His hands trembled, but he kept them at his sides. "What did you do?" he asked. The being did not answer right away. Its eyes shifted, looking past Elias as if seeing memories instead of walls. "I protected them," the voice finally said, "long before your kind walked among the stars." Elias felt his breath catch. "You protected the Galactic Union." "There was no union then," the being replied. "Only fear, only war." Elias thought of the way the council members reacted whenever the platform was mentioned. The guilt, the anger, the shame. "What happened?" he asked. Before the being could respond, a sharp sound cut through the hall. "Human." Elias spun around. The avian council member stood at the entrance, flanked by guards. Its feathers were raised high, every line of its body tense with fury. "You were ordered to leave," it said. "I was," Elias answered honestly, "but I had to understand." The council member moved closer, its eyes burning. "You have violated sacred law." "I looked," Elias said simply. A hiss of shock escaped one of the guards. The council member followed Elias' gaze despite itself, then stopped sharply, forcing its eyes away. Its wings shook. "You do not know what you have done," it said. "I think I do," Elias replied. "You're hiding someone you're afraid to face." The council member's voice dropped into a dangerous calm. "That someone nearly destroyed us." "That someone looks more like someone you destroyed," Elias said quietly. The being behind the barrier shifted slightly. The restraints tightened, responding to the movement. "Enough," the council member snapped. "Step away, now." Elias did not move. Instead, he turned his body fully toward the platform. This time there was no hesitation. The alarm screamed. Red light flooded the hall. The warning hum returned, louder than ever. Guards rushed forward, weapons rising. "Stand down," the council member shouted, but the damage was done. Dozens of systems had detected Elias' action. Across the Galactic Union, alerts were firing. A human had looked. And worse, a human had acknowledged. Elias raised his hand slowly, not in surrender, but to show he meant no harm. He looked directly at the being. "My name is Elias," he said aloud. "I'm from Earth." The being's eyes softened. "I know what humans are," it replied, this time letting its voice echo through the hall. The sound was calm, powerful, and clear. Every guard froze. The council member stumbled back, feathers trembling violently. "No, it must not speak." "Why?" Elias asked. "Because if it speaks, the truth comes out." The being lifted its head higher. "They feared my kind," it said. "Not because we sought control, but because we refused to look away." Elias felt a chill. "You were like us," he whispered. "Yes," the being answered. "That is why I was caged." The council member recovered enough to shout orders. "Restrain the human. Shut down the platform's audio." Guards moved again, faster this time. Elias knew he had seconds. He reached to his wrist and activated his personal translator and data link. Human tech was simple compared to galactic systems, but it had one advantage: it was unpredictable. Elias broadcast everything. The images, the voice, the sight of the restrained being. He sent it to the human delegation, to Earth, and beyond. "Stop him!" the council member screamed. A guard lunged forward, grabbing Elias' arm. Elias winced as metal fingers tightened, but he kept the broadcast active. "You can arrest me," Elias said loudly. "You can punish Earth, but you can't unshow what I've seen." The being's voice filled the hall again. Human Elias Renner looked where others would not. "That is why your kind survives." The council member's voice cracked with fury. "You will doom them all." Elias met its gaze. "Or maybe we'll finally tell the truth." The guards dragged him back, pulling him away from the platform. Elias did not resist. His job was done. As he was escorted out of the hall, he caught one last glimpse of the being. Their eyes met. The being inclined its head slightly, a gesture of respect. Outside, alarms echoed through the station. News spread faster than light. Other species demanded explanations. Human diplomats received messages filled with anger, fear, and threats. On Earth, leaders watched the footage in stunned silence. A single human had broken an ancient rule, and in doing so exposed a secret the galaxy had buried for centuries. Back in his holding chamber, Elias sat alone, energy cuffs locking his wrists. He felt fear now, real fear, not for himself but for his species. Had he gone too far, the door opened. The Avian Council member entered, its feathers dull, its posture heavy. "You have forced our hand," it said. Elias looked up. "Then maybe it was time your hand was forced." The council member studied him for a long moment. "You humans are dangerous." Elias nodded. "That's what they used to say about free thinkers on my world too." The council member turned away. "You will remain here. The Union will decide what to do with you and with humanity." As the door closed, Elias leaned back against the wall and closed his eyes. Somewhere beyond metal and energy barriers, an ancient being waited. And the galaxy would never be able to look away again. The station did not sleep. After Elias broadcast the truth, the Galactic Union Station became a storm of movement, sound, and fear. Corridors once calm now echoed with hurried steps. Security drones floated in tight patterns. Emergency lights blinked on and off, not because of damage, but because too many systems were trying to respond at once. Elias sat in his holding chamber, hands still locked in energy cuffs. The room was small, clean, and silent. A transparent barrier separated him from the corridor outside. Guards stood on the other side, pretending not to watch him. He did not feel brave anymore. Now he felt the weight of what he had done. Across the galaxy, reactions exploded. Some species called emergency councils, demanding punishment. Others shut down their communication networks entirely, afraid that the truth might spread further. A few, quietly and carefully, asked for copies of the broadcast. On Earth, human leaders argued late into the night. Some were furious, some were terrified, but none could deny what their envoy had seen. The being was real, and it had spoken. Hours passed. Then the door to Elia's chamber opened. 3 figures entered. The avian council member was there, feathers tight against its body. Beside it stood a massive stone-skinned delegate whose glowing eyes showed deep anger. The third was something Elias had not expected, a tall, slender alien with smooth silver skin and calm posture. This one carried no visible weapons and moved without fear. "The emergency tribunal is in session," the avian said. "You will answer for your actions." Elias stood as best he could with the cuffs still on. "I'm ready." The stone-skinned delegate spoke first, its voice like grinding rock. "Human, you violated the oldest law of the Union. You endangered stability across thousands of systems." "I showed the truth," Elias replied. "If stability depends on a lie, then it was already broken." The stone delegate slammed a fist into its palm. "You are arrogant." "Maybe," Elias said, "but I'm not wrong." The silver-skinned alien raised a hand gently. "Enough, let him speak." The stone delegate turned sharply. "You defend him." "I defend understanding," the silver one replied calmly. "We all saw the broadcast. Denying it now changes nothing." The avian council member looked away for a moment, then faced Elias again. "You spoke with the presence. What did it tell you?" "That it was once a protector," Elias said, "and that it was imprisoned because it refused to look away from injustice." A heavy silence filled the chamber. The stone delegate growled. "Lies. Then why not let it speak freely?" Elias asked. "Why hide it if you're so sure?" The avian's feathers trembled. "Because if it speaks, the Union collapses." Elias met its gaze. "Or it becomes honest." The silver-skinned alien stepped forward. "What if honesty is not destruction but change?" The avian snapped its head toward the silver one. "You would risk everything." "We already have," the silver replied. "The human has forced that choice." Another alarm sounded through the station, different from before. This one was deeper, slower. A system breach. The avian stiffened. "What now?" A guard rushed to the chamber entrance. "The containment platform is destabilizing," it said. "The presence is responding." Elias' heart skipped. "Responding how?" The guard hesitated. "It's calming systems, preventing overload." The stone delegate froze. "That's impossible." The silver-skinned alien's eyes widened slightly. "Unless it was always holding itself back." The avian turned sharply to Elias. "What did you awaken?" "I didn't awaken it," Elias said. "You never broke it, you just locked it away." The station shook gently, then settled. The alarms faded. The guard spoke again, voice quieter now. "Containment is stable." "Better than before." No one spoke for a long moment. Then the silver-skinned alien made a decision. "Release the human," it said. The avian spun toward it. "You have no authority." "I represent 5 systems," the silver replied. "And they agree." "This trial must move to the platform." The stone delegate roared. "You cannot." "You already lost control," the silver said calmly. "The galaxy has seen enough." Reluctantly, the avian signaled the guards. Elias' cuffs powered down with a soft hum. Elias flexed his hands, feeling warmth return. "You're taking a risk." The silver alien inclined its head. "So did you." They escorted Elias back through the corridors. This time the guards did not push him. Other delegates watched from doorways, some with anger, some with fear, and a few with something Elias recognized. Hope. The assembly hall was filled again, but the mood had changed. No warnings played. No hum filled the air. The dark energy barrier around the platform flickered. The being stood taller now, restraint still in place but no longer pressing into its body. Its eyes followed Elias as he approached. "You returned," the being said. "I said I would," Elias replied. The avian council member stood before the platform, voice tight. "You will not be freed." "I do not ask for freedom," the being answered. "I ask for truth." The stone delegate shouted, "You betrayed us." The being turned its gaze toward the stone one. "I protected you. You feared what you owed me." Murmurs spread through the hall. The being continued, its voice steady and clear. When the old wars burned stars, my kind stood between destruction and survival. We asked for no rule, no throne, only balance. The avian shook visibly. You judged us. I witnessed you, the being replied. You judged yourselves. Elias stepped forward. Then let it end, he said. Let the galaxy choose with open eyes. The silver-skinned alien nodded. I agree. One by one, other delegates spoke, some angrily, some quietly, but the silence that once ruled was gone. The avian council member looked around and saw it. The Union was already changing. With a slow, shaking motion, it raised a wing. Lower the barrier. Gasps echoed as the dark energy faded away. For the first time in centuries, the platform stood in full view. The being closed its eyes for a moment, then opened them again. Thank you, it said softly. The station lights stabilized. Systems across the hall aligned. It was as if the being's presence brought calm, not chaos. Elias felt his chest tighten. The stone delegate backed away. This is madness. No, Elias said. This is responsibility. The avian council member sagged slightly. What happens now? The being looked at Elias, then at the gathered delegates. Now the galaxy remembers who it chose to forget. Security forces stood down. Messages began to flow again, not as panic, but as conversation. Elias knew the hardest part was still ahead. Truth never came without cost. But as he stood beneath the open platform, with an ancient protector finally seen, he understood something deeply human. Looking had not destroyed the galaxy. Hiding nearly had. The station seemed to breathe differently now. The dark hum that had always warned, scolded, and intimidated the assembly hall had vanished. Delegates moved with unease, yet also curiosity, as if waking from a long dream where nothing could be trusted. The being on the platform, no longer hidden, stood tall and quiet, radiating calm that contrasted sharply with the tension in the room. Elias took a deep breath, feeling the weight of every pair of eyes upon him. Some were wide with disbelief, some glimmered with fear. A few, he noticed, looked almost hopeful. Humans were new to the galaxy, unpredictable and so far remarkably brave, or recklessly foolish, depending on who you asked. He had no time to dwell on titles. What mattered now was what came next. The avian council member, feathers ruffled and posture stiff, stepped forward. The human has broken ancient law, it said, its voice trembling slightly. You have seen the presence and yet you speak freely. Do you not understand the danger? Elias shook his head slowly. I understand more than anyone in this room. The danger was never from the being. It was from our fear. Hiding truth because we are afraid never protects anyone. It only creates worse problems. The council murmured in shock. A reptilian delegate clicked its mandibles, a sound of outrage that echoed sharply off the walls. You dare speak to the assembly like that, human? You risk everything, your people, your station, your systems. Elias met its gaze evenly. I risked nothing that was not already in danger. The truth was imprisoned. Lies were fed to every species here. Now we have a chance to fix it. The being on the platform moved, raising a hand. Its voice, calm and resonant, filled the hall. He speaks rightly. I was tasked with protecting the balance of this galaxy, yet I was imprisoned by those who feared me. Not because I was dangerous, but because I reminded the galaxy of what it had lost: honesty, responsibility, and courage. Gasps and shouts spread across the room. Delegates argued amongst themselves, alien voices overlapping in discord. Some demanded the being be silenced immediately. Others questioned why it had been locked away for centuries. The avian council member waved its wings in frustration. We cannot allow you to speak. You were a weapon of war. I was a protector, the being said firmly. I ended wars that would have burned countless worlds. I asked for nothing in return, but your fear, your pride, imprisoned me instead of letting me continue my work. Elias stepped closer to the platform, placing a hand gently on the edge. I saw what others refused to see. You are not a weapon. You are proof that the galaxy can survive if it chooses to act with courage." A heavy silence fell, broken only by the soft hum of the station's systems. For the first time in centuries, the assembly hall felt uncertain. Old rules, old fears, old lies, they all seemed fragile now. The stone-skinned delegate bellowed in anger. "You will bring ruin upon all of us. This human defies centuries of law." "Perhaps," Elias said, his voice steady. "Or perhaps we have been following the wrong law." "Fear is not law, fear is a prison." The being on the platform inclined its head toward Elias. "Your species is unlike any other I have seen. You look where you are told not to. You question where others obey. You act, even when all others hesitate. This is why humans survive, and why they are needed now more than ever." The silver-skinned alien spoke next, calm and precise. "The galaxy has never faced a choice like this. The truth has been hidden for so long that revealing it may shake the foundations of every system. Yet we cannot ignore it. Humans, by nature, are unafraid to face the consequences of knowledge. This is why we must listen." The Avian Council member let out a harsh cry. "You would betray the Union for the words of a human. You risk chaos, war, collapse." "Not betrayal," Elias said. "Awakening. The galaxy will survive not by fear but by understanding. We cannot continue hiding what is right in front of us." The being stretched its arms slightly, testing the loosened restraints. Its movements were smooth, deliberate, a controlled power that belied the centuries of confinement. "I can guide you," it said. "I can restore balance where deception has ruled for too long, but only if the galaxy chooses to see clearly." Voices rose in the chamber, delegates shouting, debating, and questioning. Some accused Elias of arrogance. Others whispered that he had done what no alien had dared. The tension was a living thing, thick and electric. Yet beneath it all, something new was forming, a fragile hope. The Avian Council members' feathers shivered. "If we release him fully, if we let him act, the consequences are unknown. Entire systems could rise against us. Alliances could break. We could face annihilation." The being looked toward the council member, then Elias. "And if you continue to hide me, you will face what you have already created: distrust, rebellion, and the slow decay of your own authority. The choice is yours, but time has already passed." The galaxy cannot wait any longer. The room seemed to hold its breath. Delegates who had previously shouted now watched in silence, weighing centuries of laws against a single truth. Elias could feel the moment stretch, delicate and powerful. He could feel the eyes of every species on him, waiting to see what a human would do next. Elias took a step forward. "You see fear, I see opportunity. You see danger, I see responsibility. You see power. I see a chance to prove that courage, honesty, and action can protect us all." The council member hissed softly, its body rigid. "And what if you are wrong?" "Then we learn," Elias said. "Humans have survived because we face what others avoid. We make mistakes, yes, but we do not hide from them. We do not lock away truth because it is uncomfortable." A tense quiet followed. Then slowly, the energy barriers around the platform deactivated completely. The being stepped forward, free at last. Its presence filled the hall, not with menace, but with a calm authority that few could ignore. Delegates murmured, some backing away, others leaning in closer. The being's voice, low and measured, resonated through the chamber. "I do not seek revenge. I do not seek power. I seek only to restore balance, to guide those who wish to see clearly, and to protect what is just." Elias glanced at the council member. "It has always done more good than any law here. Now it can continue if you let it." The Avian Council member's feathers drooped. Its voice was quieter now, almost reflective. Perhaps the human is right. Perhaps fear has ruled us for too long." A few delegates nodded hesitantly. Others still shook with anger, but the momentum had shifted. The galaxy had seen the truth, and it could not be hidden again. Elias stepped fully onto the floor near the platform, facing the being. "We will help you," he said simply. If you will guide us, the being inclined its head. Then let us begin. Outside the chamber, stations across the Union were receiving broadcasts. The footage of Elias standing, looking, and speaking with the being had spread faster than any system could contain. Across worlds, species were reacting. Some were horrified. Some were inspired. But every species now knew one undeniable fact: humans do not look away. Elias felt a rush of pride, not for himself, but for what humanity represented. The ability to act, to see, and to speak even when the consequences were unknown. The galaxy had labeled humans as reckless. Perhaps they were, but in this moment that recklessness was exactly what was needed. The being stepped closer to Elias. "You have courage that few understand," it said. "That is why you are here. That is why you survived where others would falter." Elias nodded. "I did what humans do. We see, we act, we protect, and sometimes we break rules to do what is right." Delegates whispered among themselves. The council member stared, realizing that the very species it had underestimated was now the center of the galaxy's attention. Humans were no longer weak or naive. They were catalysts for change. The being raised its hands, calm and commanding. "Listen to him. Learn from him. Together, we can repair what fear has broken." The stone-skinned delegate growled but did not move. The avian council member closed its eyes, feathers folding in a gesture of reluctant acceptance. The silver-skinned alien smiled faintly, eyes bright with understanding. Elias stood silently for a moment, watching the being regain its strength. The platform that had once symbolized fear now represented hope. He had acted without guarantee of reward or recognition. He had only acted because it was the right thing to do, and in that action he had changed the galaxy. The murmurs grew louder. Delegates began speaking directly to one another, debating how to move forward. For the first time in centuries, there was no unified voice of fear. There was conversation, there was thought, there was possibility. Elias turned toward the being. "What happens now?" "Now," it said, "we show the galaxy what it means to face truth. We rebuild trust. We restore balance. And humans," it added, looking directly at him, "will walk beside us not because they were commanded, but because they chose to act." A sense of calm filled Elias. He knew challenges remained. There would be anger. There would be pushback. Some systems would resist. But a door had been opened. A barrier had been broken. And the galaxy could never look away again. Elias inhaled deeply, feeling the warmth of purpose spread through him. Humanity had made its mark, not through power, not through fear, but through courage, curiosity, and action. The beings of the Union would never forget it, and Elias knew deep inside that the story had only just begun. The assembly hall, once a place of rules and silence, was now alive with conversation, debate, and the faint hum of hope. The being stood free. The humans had acted boldly, and for the first time in centuries, the galaxy had been reminded that courage could change everything. Elias looked out across the chamber, meeting the eyes of delegates from countless species. He raised his hand slightly, a simple gesture but one that carried meaning. The future was uncertain. Danger still waited. But humanity had proven one truth. When humans see, when humans act, the galaxy cannot ignore them. And that truth would guide the stars for generations to come.